Welcome to the Gould-Fish Pod. I'm Matt Gould.
And I'm Ryan Fish.
It's time for another week of awesome wrestling stuff. I don't know if we have anything else that isn't wrestling to talk about today, so we'll jump right into things. Well, first off, Scott Hall passed away this week, and that it was a really sad time. There's a great obituary written for him in the Wrestling Observer newsletter. If anybody's a subscriber to that, that's definitely worth reading. It goes through basically his entire career and most of his life, at least that of which we know happened in his life outside of the ring. A lot of tragic stories. I know you necessarily weren't the most informed on Scott Hall, but did you have any thoughts on it or anything like that? Have you seen any Scott Hall work in the last week?
I watched a bunch of clips that were posted, and just some of the stories of I didn't know that he went to New Japan and wrestled Tanahashi, and then some of the stories that you had said about X-Pac.
Oh,
X-Pac.
Yeah.
So it's some of those I had no idea.
Yeah, he had a lot of really, really signature moments. I mean, back then when wrestling was so hot, there was a lot of times when Scott Hall was, even though he never won a world championship to my knowledge, he was right at the center of attention. And a lot of the reasons that he probably didn't get that chance as world champion is probably just because he had a lot of the out of the ring issues that, people kept him around and people tried to help him a lot when those issues came up. And so, I don't know that he was ever alone, but when you go through some of those things, it's very easy to feel that way. And it's very easy to just make it that way. And I know there were plenty of times, including a time recently after reading that Observer piece where, he would go days without communicating with anybody. And it always made people a little worried because you never know. But Scott Hall, for all intents and purposes, I remember as a kid, I only saw the tail end of his career. I never even saw any of the stuff that he did in TNA in the early days, but I just remember thinking that he was the coolest dude. I mean, I don't know that anybody has ever made being a wrestler look as cool as Scott Hall did.
He definitely had that factor in him of just that persona.
He had something of a swagger to him at all times, no matter what he was doing. And right. It's just sad. He had a lot of people who were really great friends with him and who were absolutely devastated by this. And, your heart goes out to all of them. It's just never a fun thing to deal with.
No, not at all.
But hopefully, I don't know what all the personal listeners' beliefs are, but hopefully he's in a better place now. And
yeah, they can drop a comment about their favorite Scott Hall moments.
Yeah, if you happen upon this intro, leave us a thought in the comments about what you thought about Scott Hall, or tweet us at Gould-Fish Pod. I'm sure that'll work as well. The next bit of news that we had to talk about was the William Regal podcast that he did with Chris Jericho. It was The Talk is Jericho from last Wednesday. I actually think is the 16th. And they were supposed to just do one episode where Regal kind of went over some of the stuff that he went through in his life and take you all the way up to him getting into AEW. And it took a turn in the direction of, I don't think anybody really knew how bad William Regal's health problems were. And there were a lot of crazy stories in that podcast. But it was so much that Jericho actually is having him back on. And I don't know if it's this week or coming up on another week, but they're having William Regal back to do a part 2 because there was so much stuff. And I know you had a chance to listen to it. I mean, what did you think about some of the stuff that they were talking about?
I guess this the amount of injuries and health problems he had, that was absolutely insane. And for him to just kind of wrestle through that, I was just I thought it was just absolutely insane, because there's he would just say that he would randomly just fall over and be whatever. And it's it kept happening. And I'm there's gotta be something for you to randomly fall over. And he just didn't think anything of it.
Yeah. So there's the whole old adage of, you work through being hurt. And I think people who played real sports all their lives also kind of share that mentality. You know, nobody wants to do the quote unquote losing their spot.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people who maybe didn't play sports or haven't been in a similar situation, they'll sit there and I've seen them go like, oh, well, that's terrible. They get hurt and all of a sudden they come back and there's no spot for them. Well, like, I don't know what world you live in, but that's how this shit works. If you're done and you have to sit out for 6 months to a year, and somebody's got to do your role, whether it's wrestling, sports, hell, if you're a radio host and you get sick and somebody takes your job for a year while you recover or whatever happens, this is the world. If all of a sudden a bunch of ratings go up, if all of a sudden your team's winning more games, if all of a sudden the fans are popping more than they did when you were coming out, there's just no guarantee that when you come back, everything's going to be the same. And you can think what you want about whether about the loyalty of it all, but that's not what this is. And so that was where Regal was coming from. He didn't want to sit out. He wanted to, one, to keep his spot, but two, because he had so much respect for wrestling that he never wanted to stop, which I think that there are some situations where maybe that can be to your benefit. Like, you know, if you pull a hamstring, I'm not condoning going out and making your hamstring pull that much worse, but like, you know, given the situation, maybe you can work through it. Maybe there are ways to work around it. But like, he took not missing a day to a level that I've never heard before. Insane.
And he definitely like kind of hit on the head where it's like, you know, you definitely don't want to lose your role. And we all know the famous Wally Pipp story as well.
Yeah.
But like, at a certain point,
tell the viewers who don't know. Tell the viewers.
Oh, so Wally Pipp was the.
There are people that think that this doesn't happen, or that if it does happen, it's total bullshit. And like, these people have never been in a competitive setting in their life.
Yeah. So Wally Pipp was was a player for the New York Yankees and was sick or had an off day, and someone took his spot. And that name was Lou Gehrig. And Wally Pipp never played after that.
No. And are you going to get on the people for not playing Lou Gehrig?
No, I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, one of the best all time. And you're just, no, I definitely get in, like, with William Regal, you know, I definitely understand, like, working through some pain. But, you know, I think at certain points when, like I said, when you're falling over and you can't explain why you're randomly falling over, like some of like those glaring kind of instances, like I think there's a certain point where it's like you need to check your health now.
Yeah.
Before it gets too late.
And in more than one case, it almost was too late. I mean, some of the things that he had, I think there were a number of things that he talked about, but the most jarring for me personally, just in terms of like, how did he do this, was after he was wrestling. Now, an honorable mention is him breaking his neck in 1993 and not finding out for like 14 years. I don't know how that's even possible.
I don't know how it's possible either.
But that's a close second to me. But the first thing that I was sitting there going, oh my God, like, how is this even possible? Was when he had a hole in his neck that they had to regauze over and over.
Oh, yes.
While he was flying. And I think he was just doing commentary or possibly even just doing recruiting trips during this time. I don't remember the specific tasks that he was performing while he was doing this, but basically he would have to have doctors come into his room and change a bandage on his neck because there was literally a hole in his neck that leaked spinal fluid. And if you got an infection in your spinal cord, you're done. Like, that's the end, because you can't, you're talking about permanent paralysis, possibly death. You cannot have the thing that basically is in charge of your motor functioning get infected, right, or you're done. And he was still traveling the world, just taking the risks, letting people change his bandage. Like, some of the stuff is just so, it takes like tearing ligaments and makes it look like it's nothing.
No, absolutely.
So hopefully, I don't know how somebody who's been through all of that feels day to day. I know he doesn't do the most physical of things anymore. However, you never, like, God, I shudder to think about on the bad days when he rolls out of bed how he feels in the morning. But
I was saying probably getting out of bed is kind of the first challenge every day for him.
It's got to be, and I hope that he is in a place where he's able to deal with all that stuff, and it's not going to be that big of a deal. I mean, all things considered, obviously it is a big deal, but I hope that it doesn't affect him being able to go around and do stuff with AEW, because obviously a lot of this was happening during his run with NXT, where he would just disappear for a little while, and people would, and we would find out like, oh, he's just dealing with some health stuff, like he'll be back. And then he was back because he was kind of crazy and insisted on being back, but no one ever knew the extent of what the problems were. And those were just a few of the problems. I mean, his last match, I don't know if he had another match after this, but I think he said his last match was with Daniel Bryan.
Yes,
well, Bryan Danielson, when he was Daniel Bryan in WWE, and it was in the UK, and he tore his meniscus like that day, and they didn't want him to go out there and wrestle. And instead he went out there and basically said that he let Daniel Bryan carry his ass for 17 minutes in a match that he ended up being really proud of. So the guy is different level grit and different level determination, but I hope he's okay.
Yes, that's kind of the main thing, is long-term health.
Yeah. I got nothing else on that podcast. I'm really, really looking forward to part 2, because we've barely even scratched the surface of his role and function within NXT and AEW. And he mentioned a couple of things from his wrestling career, but we didn't get to hear too many in-depth details about pleasant memories, just memories in which he broke a neck or tore a ligament. So I'm looking forward to hopefully a more happy episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was definitely a very injury-friendly podcast.
Yeah, it was all injuries all the time. That was the tagline. I believe that is everything in terms of news. I know other stuff has happened. Apparently, Cody Rhodes may have signed for the 3rd time. And after the last time, there was a bunch of Cody news. I pretty much defaulted to, you've all failed. Nobody has reported this in the right way. You don't get 3 chances to report on somebody's No, you don't. So when he shows up on somebody's TV, that's the confirmation. And I don't know that there is a number of sources other than him at this point that are going to, like, I don't not believe it either. Like, I've thought from the beginning he was going to sign with WWE, but at this point, these jokers who are reporting all of this stuff have made such a mockery of what it means to report anything. And even Dave Meltzer was trying to take a victory lap about how, oh, I knew this 2 weeks ago, and I was telling you he was on the WrestleMania card. Well, like 2 weeks ago, he was also mentioning how there was a snag in the or a week before that, he was mentioning how there was a snag in the deal. And the week prior
the creative
to that,
or whatever.
He was signed. So like, you can take all the victory laps you want, but maybe go back and listen to some of your own shows. I don't know. But I mean, it's all in good fun. These dudes are just trying to do their job. At a certain point, tap out.
Got to cut it off at some point.
Yeah, tap out and just let it be known that the Cody drama has officially become too much to handle.
Well, before we hop off, I was going to say, does Adam Schefter get 3 times?
No, but Adam Schefter just pretends like he's never been wrong ever. I hate that guy.
But I'm just saying, Twitter, like, everyone makes the fact that, like, if he gets it wrong, he gets it wrong. Like, they make, like, but.
People do that to the wrestling reporters too.
Do they? Okay.
If you click, even on stuff that they get right, if you click on the tweet that they report something, even if it's like right the next day, if you click on that thread, it's all people hating on them. Okay. It's like 10%. Oh, hey, this is cool. Where do you think they're gonna go? And then it's like 80%. Fuck you. You ruin wrestling for everybody. I don't want to know these spoilers. Like, God damn it. Fuck you. And then the final 10% is, it's not that hard to avoid this shit if you really don't want to know. Like, just, maybe control your Twitter addiction and you'll be fine. So those are the responses to any reporter.
Gotcha. All right.
So it is fair. Honestly, I think they get it worse than Adam Schefter, and I think Schefter deserves it worse than they get it.
Okay. Gotcha. Good to know. As a future reference.
Yeah. Some of the threads can be pretty entertaining, but if you find yourself reading too long, it actually becomes depressing. So just a warning for you if you ever decide to read some of them. Well, I guess we can go into our favorite part of the week. Fish, what did you think of Dynamite?
I thought it was really good. I think they always hit it right, especially in the first match every time. Like something about Dynamite that you just know you're getting a banger of a match every first match.
The show does always start hot. That much is for sure. I like the show a lot better than the show from the week before. There were some things of it that left a little to be desired, but they were things where I think you were supposed to be left with things to be desired. Mm-hmm. So in that sense, I thought that it was pretty good because I'm curious to see where it goes next week. Why don't you take us through the show and we'll give our thoughts on all of the segments.
Yeah, there you go. So we kicked off Dynamite with Adam Cole and Red Dragon versus Hangman, Adam Page, and you had the Jurassic Express.
The thing with this match is if you went in and assumed that Bobby Fish would just take a pinfall from somebody, that's not an unreasonable assumption. But if you thought that somebody might pin one of the tag team champions to set up a tag team match, that's also not unreasonable. Adam Cole pinning Hangman after some BS, also not unreasonable. Mm-hmm. Hangman Page ending the feud by pinning Adam Cole, not unreasonable. Even though I was pretty certain that Adam Cole and Red Dragon were going to win in some fashion because they got to keep this going, there were so many ways that it could have gone that it made the match that much more interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they did get me. I did think that, towards the end, the flurries, I'm like, oh, they're actually going to do it. I wouldn't expect the person who got pinned to get pinned. And if I may, I would say Jungle Boy.
Yeah. I mean, spoilers, not really a thing at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, true. It's already happened.
Yeah. But there was some great stuff in this match. I was particularly a fan of the triple moonsault. That was quite awesome.
That was pretty good. I thought the Doomsday devices.
Yep, the double Doomsday. That was also quite epic. They did a lot of really cool stuff in here. And I always think that Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish and even Adam Cole, all of them, they complement guys who do a lot of the flashy things very well. And I don't know that I've ever not enjoyed the three of those guys wrestling, Fish, O'Reilly, and Adam Cole. Mm-hmm. But they don't do flashy things, and they complement those that do flashy things better than I think anybody that I watch.
Yeah, no, they definitely and then they get their pace too. They kind of slow it down a little bit, and then they bring it back up, and then they give you some breaks between the match, I think, as a crowd.
And I will say that they many years ago, Shawn Michaels was wrestling Shelton Benjamin. And Shelton Benjamin went to do a springboard and then do a move on Shawn Michaels. And Shawn Michaels super kicked him out of midair. And for years, this clip would float around. And now Adam Cole does that and is spot on almost every time. And the moves that the other guys are doing are so much more tricky than just simply doing a springboard and jumping into the ring standing up normal. It's incredible what they're able to pull off, the timing of it, and how good most of their things look.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's clean, crisp, and precise, and everyone's, not hurt either. And that helps, but
yes, obviously,
but everything is just
case.
It's executed to perfection, I would say.
Oh yeah. The finish of this match saw Jungle Boy. He hit that double Doomsday device for the near fall, but they were able to recover after a certain point, and then they hit the high-low, which I love as a finishing move, by the way. I love the high-low. And then Adam Cole lowered the boom for the win. So it looks like, I guess, Kyle O'Reilly and Ryan, or I was going to say Ryan Fish. That's you.
Ryan Fish, yeah.
Yeah. Bobby Fish, your uncle.
Yeah. My wrestling uncle.
Yes, your wrestling uncle. It looks like they might get a tag team match for the titles, even though Adam Cole was the one that picked up the victory. But whatever. I'm sure it'll be a great match.
Yeah. I guess it was just because Jungle Boy got pinned.
Yeah, that's true. It was a tag team guy that got pinned. So Adam Cole doing one for the boys. Don't say he never gave them anything.
Yeah, unlike some other factions that want to blame people for not succeeding.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Oh man. But after that we had the Keith Lee and Team Taz backstage interview.
Set up a match on Rampage. These guys are very funny. Everybody loves the Acclaimed. I'm starting, and people are starting to pop pretty big when they say that too. So it must be true.
I can definitely say as a podcast, we were on the bandwagon a lot sooner.
Oh yeah, we were definitely there before everybody. However, I'm glad that other people are seeing the light.
Yes,
here.
No, I absolutely. I'm happy people are finally catching on to Anthony Bowens and Max Caster.
Yep. So I think Ricky Starks had warned Keith Lee not to show up on his show again.
Yes.
And Swerve interrupted and said that, like, I don't know. They said something. He said something, but basically Keith Lee and Swerve walk off, and Max Caster goes, "Wait, isn't he a rapper?"
That was good. That was really good.
Yeah, it was a fine interview.
Yeah. Well, and
promo, whatever.
I would say interruptions still happening because Swerve had to interject too. So
every time.
And then apparently there was a Chris Statlander video, and I guess I just skipped through it and didn't even realize that was there. So I can't really speak on how that video.
She was wiping off her alien makeup as the footage of her having lost the match to Layla was being played. So I just think it's like introducing a character change. Maybe she's going to be done with the Fairweather Friends, which that can only be a positive career move for anybody. But who would have thought that Chris Statlander would make it before Trent?
Yeah, honestly, Trent has all the reason in the world to leave.
Ugh. I mean, good for Statlander, although I'll have to go back and look. She might have still had the makeup on when she ran out and did the run-in on Rampage, but whatever.
She did. Well, it was black though. It wasn't.
Was it? Okay. I can live with that. Maybe she's going to join the House of Black.
Yeah. That would be interesting.
It would certainly be an upgrade for her.
Yeah, you got actually a dominant team.
Yeah.
Then after that, we had the Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson versus the Fairweather Friends of Chucky T and Wheeler Yuta.
You know, I was kind of sitting here, hand up, a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I get it. Wheeler Yuta is a really good wrestler, but I don't know why people are sitting here talking about him like he could be Jungle Boy or Sammy Guevara or any of these other guys, because he's positioned with the best friends. But my God, the best friends, the Fairweather Friends, they're imploding here.
Yes, they are. I mean, wasn't he one of the names that Bryan Danielson
he was.
had mentioned? Yeah, okay.
He was. And I mean, we could sit here and talk for 4 hours if we went move by move by move, but some of the things that I loved Yuta taking the yes kicks and then begging for more.
He had the hot tag.
He did have the hot tag
and used it efficiently. So he had a very good hot tag.
Yep. And I don't mind seeing Chuck Taylor get the shit beat out of him any day of the week. I'm always down to watch that. So that was fun.
Well, I was going to say that, obviously Wheeler Yuta was getting his ass kicked to begin with. And I'm like, oh, Chucky T's just going to get away with it yet again. Because Trent always took the beatings. And then Chucky T started actually getting like kicked. And I'm like, oh my God, he's actually getting hit now.
Yeah, thank God. It's going to end up being just Chuck Taylor and Trent again. And Trent's going to be stuck with this guy that he should have left 3 years ago.
He should still be teaming with Rocky Romero.
He should be. Absolutely. The problem is that Rocky Romero is also a nice guy, so he would include Chuck Taylor. Oh, I can't go another second without William Regal's commentary being mentioned. First of all, he was awesome. But second of all, his reaction to Danhausen was exactly what it needed to be. And him not even acknowledging what Excalibur's name is, I popped for that. I was laughing pretty hard. I actually have the direct quote. William Regal joins commentary. He is immediately surprised when he sees the Fairweather Friends come out. He sees Danhausen and says, "Pray tell, man with the mask, who is that demon man?" And Excalibur had to explain that it's Danhausen. And it was so awesome. Man with the mask. That's what I'm going to call Excalibur from now on.
the man with the mask. He always gets dunked on, and it's funny, but he's always it's always the great Tony Schiavone and good old JR, and then you're just see Excalibur.
But the match ended with a bulldog choke. Wheeler Yuta tapped out, and then after the match, Wheeler Yuta is walking away, and the Fairweather friends are like, "Hey man, come on!" And Wheeler Yuta's like, "No, 1 second." He goes in the ring and he gets the William Regal initiation slap, and then. Did you see what Wheeler Yuta tweeted about that incident?
I did not. No.
So Wheeler Yuta tweeted a GIF of him being slapped by Regal with a quote, and the quote said, "Prove yourself a little more, sunshine." So apparently that's what William Regal told him.
Oh, okay, that's huge. Yeah. Self a little more, sunshine. I like that. Yeah, and then we kicked it back to backstage with FTR.
Tully was the one not focused, apparently.
Which I'm done with FTR. I'm done. I can't talk about them. I refuse.
You know what's really funny is so they fired Tully because of a lack of focus, and the Young Bucks interrupt them and talk about how they can hire the best there is, the best manager ever, which is they're totally getting Bret Hart, who's going to be their new manager. Mm-hmm. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart. So he's totally coming in. I'm convinced. But the thing is like Bret's all about championships too, brother. So I don't know.
I don't get it.
It's whatever. The funny thing is they are the AAA tag team champions, and come the Super Card of Honor, they'll probably end up being the Ring of Honor tag team champions as well.
I'm anti FTR, so. Well,
it wasn't a glaringly obvious like babyface turn, and so if they there was never like I get it, they turned, but it wasn't like a big turn, and so when they speak on family and things like that, I think you're supposed to like them, but it's not hitting with me.
I don't.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, if I want to be brutally honest, like I said, what's the point of a competition if you're not trying to go for a championship? You can still turn and like still be focused on winning a championship.
And my problem is like there actually are still going for championships. It's just for whatever reason, it's elsewhere. So whatever.
I just didn't like the logic that they fired Tully.
No,
that didn't make sense at all.
No, it didn't. And also the Pinnacle, they formed, they were awesome, and then they kind of all did their own things and would come together when they needed to. And it feels like they're now going to have unceremoniously broken up, because I can't imagine Bret Hart managing a babyface FTR within the Pinnacle. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So we'll see where it goes, but hopefully it does lead to another Young Bucks FTR match so that I can root for the Young Bucks again.
Oh, I'll definitely be rooting for the Young Bucks.
Heel or not, they're my guys.
Well, I don't care who FTR is even wrestling anymore. I'm just not. I can't be a part of what they stand for.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
Then you had the Jericho Appreciation Society commencement.
So I want to know what you thought about all of this first, because I'm always interested to hear your perspective as somebody who only started really watching wrestling again. I mean, what?
Like I thought it was hilarious, to be honest.
Okay,
yeah, a year or two ago. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was so funny when they just talked about how they were sports entertainers and all the booze just came raining down.
I love that.
And then Daniel Garcia said, "I am too a sports entertainer." I just lost it.
You think he's about to come after Chris for using the term, and then he's like, "Well, if you are, then so am I." Another line that I really loved was Jericho said that the Earth has been around for 4.5 billion years, and you're all lucky enough to be around at the same time as him. I laughed pretty hard at that.
I love that. I can't even remember the names that he gave to Matt Lee and Jeff Parker, but they were just so out of left field.
Well, he said that they no longer use fake names, and then he gave that. So maybe those are their actual names. I don't know. However, Jericho still uses his ring name, which is his actual name is Chris Irvine. So he's not using his actual name, but the other guys are. And apparently, Daniel Garcia was the wrestler in the car that had crashed and gotten into a serious accident. Jericho helped donate money so that they could pay for their bills and recover, which Jericho doesn't often boast about a lot of the charity work that he does. only the stuff that people disagree with is what comes to the light, because of course that's what happens. But that's pretty cool. I didn't know that, and I think
I didn't know that either. And then say he also referenced Kevin Owens too.
Yeah, he did. His former friend Kevin. I loved that. The one thing I didn't love is acknowledging, like, straight up on live TV in the middle of the show that people use fake names. That's like the only thing that I didn't like about that, because they could have just gone a different direction and be like, we're sports entertainers. We're here to entertain you. And that's why we've got Daddy Magic and Angelo. Like, where they're going to be their true selves, and this is who they are because they're entertainers. And that would have made, like, I get it. Everybody knows what wrestling is, but I hate having it thrown in my face in the middle of the broadcast,
Right. I can understand that part.
Other than that, I thought this was excellent.
Yeah, no, I thought it was super funny, and I just love the booze. So
yes. And for some reason, even though I hate when the commentators are sitting there and yelling and talking too fast, whenever, I don't know, what is it? Daddy Magic, Matt Lee, is that what he is now? I don't even know. But whenever he yells at me, I love it.
I loved how it started, because he just like didn't know how it was going to start, but he's like, I found my way with Chris Jericho.
Yep.
But yeah, overall great segment. And then we had the video package where Serena Deeb addressed Hikaru Shida.
Feels like they've been feuding for a year. Hopefully it's good.
It was their sixth match.
Yeah. God. I love them both. It was just a nice little promo. Not much to it.
Right. No, but it's good. I mean, and we just hope that they have better matches together.
Yeah, sure.
That's all. And then we had the TNT Championship with Scorpio Sky and his co-winner Dan Lambert, and he wrestled Wardlow.
Now, this felt more like a segment than it did a match, honestly.
You just knew that something was going to happen to Wardlow.
And they went to break relatively early on into the match.
Yes.
And there was all kinds of distractions. I mean, Wardlow has been such a big babyface from all the stuff that he's done that putting him in a situation where he doesn't look the smartest it's not a good idea. And for him to go outside the ring and be distracted by Paige Van Sant, and God bless the guy, but he's always going to be known as Paige Van Sant's husband to me. The fact that he was distracted by them kissing and it allowed Scorpio Sky to attack him and then take control of the match through the break. He just looked like a dummy. And I don't like when my baby faces who are finally getting their big push look like dummies right off the bat.
Yeah, I definitely think that they could have done it a little bit different, where it's like, he's a little bit more aware outside the ring, but someone like, MJF, like from the crowd, or, something like that, where it's like where you didn't expect it.
Well, and the thing is he's done so many promos talking about how focused and ready he is, and then within the first 3 minutes of the match, he loses his focus.
Right.
And I know that I think part of the issue was I was fully expecting MJF to do something to cost him the match. And I don't know what exactly I was expecting, but I was very underwhelmed by how it ended up going. Did it in a way where it makes sense, but it happened so quickly. And I mean, how many times in a regular match do we see some guy get pushed into the ring post? It happens all the time. And apparently it's Wardlow's kryptonite, because that's what happened. He was rolled into the ring, and Scorpio Sky, I think, rolled him up and won.
Yeah.
So Wardlow's kryptonite is the distraction roll up, because this is like the second time in a big match.
Yeah, because CM Punk did it to him.
Yeah. So I don't know what I was expecting, but what I was expecting was something more dramatic than that. And then after the match, everybody beat down Wardlow. There was some money that had exchanged hands. And then MJF hit the diamond ring punch, and that was it. Yep, no CM Punk. I hope they address in storyline why he wasn't there. Apparently he was filming season 2 of Heels, but I don't think there's an excuse for there to be no mention of it. The commentators tried to say, Wardlow hasn't made that many friends, but like CM Punk at least owes him one.
Yeah, he does. So then after that, we threw it to Jade Cargill and Mark Sterling backstage, where basically she says who's next.
Yep. We'll find out eventually.
Yep. And then we had the Hardys versus Private Party.
Matt Hardy and Jeff. I have very mixed feelings about this. I've said before, I love seeing the Hardys, the original Hardy Boys, on my screen, and I love the music and I love the whole thing. And the match was what it needed to be, but like, I don't know how long they should do the whole "we're the Hardy Boys from 2002" thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not those dudes anymore. Not that they can't go, like they still have fine matches and things like that, but they have had so many awesome character developments, and I hope that this is more a way to introduce the Hardys for a little bit, and then they become something a little more.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I viewed it as. That's kind of what they're doing, because I felt like, kind of for like me and like, a bunch of other viewers that like don't really know the early 2000s Hardys, that like we're kind of getting the taste of the nostalgia, from everybody. And then after that, they're kind of just going to build into their AEW, character arc.
And nobody's better at doing different versions of themselves and making it fly than the Hardy Boys. So I'm sure that eventually we'll get that. I will say the pop for Jeff Hardy when he hit the hot tag was monstrous.
Oh, it was deafening.
They were ready for that guy to get in that ring and do a hot tag. They literally, I'm convinced a lot of the people there came just for that.
I think so too.
Yeah. But the end of the match was the Hardys each hit Twists of Fate, and then Jeff absolutely crushes, I think it was Isaiah Cassidy, with the Swanton Bomb.
He did not. He landed right on him.
There was nothing generous about that. It was basically squishing him. And Jeff Hardy looked so huge compared to Isaiah Cassidy.
And it's just like his physique, like even like Isaiah Cassidy, he looks like strong. And like I think Mark Quinn is bigger than him, like just muscular wise. But Jeff Hardy's also like built too.
Oh
like,
yeah, he's a built
for
guy.
His age too. Like he's built.
Yeah, he looks great. I mean, you can tell that he's old, but he looks great.
Yes. Then obviously the Hardy Boys won. And then after the match, you had the AFO, come down and go after the Hardys, and Sting and Darby came out for the save. Then threw it backstage to Red Velvet, where she's not friends with Layla Hirsch anymore.
As if that wasn't already clear.
I mean, I don't understand how Red Velvet can side with a person who says that, I'm Team Layla Hirsch. Like, that's all it is.
I'm still Team Layla Hirsch. I don't care how she won on the pay-per-view. I would have done the same thing if somebody had come at my life the way that Chris Statlander came at Layla Hirsch's life.
She deserved to get bashed with the ring, whatever it's called, wrench. I don't know.
100%. 100%.
And then we kicked it to the AEW Women's World Championship, the Steel Cage match.
There was a lot of really awesome spots during this match. But before we go just into some of the stuff during the match, I loved the all-female mariachi band.
That was good. That was good.
So awesome. Mariachi aside, what was your overall thoughts about the match?
I thought it was good. I definitely thought like there was some kind of like hiccup, so to speak, where it's like they kind of weren't on the same page. But I also think that's what makes a steel cage match too.
Fight.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it for what it was. Like even like kind of like the slip ups where people are like, oh, like they might have missed something there. I'm like, but that's also the part of the steel cage match, and I like that.
Yeah. I completely appreciate that aspect of the cage match. When it was over, I sat there and thought 2 weeks too late. It didn't affect my enjoyment of the match. I obviously enjoyed the match. However, like you said, there's some issues when working in a cage. So, I thought it was very similar to the match that they had a year ago, which it was actually a year ago to the day of the match happening. The first one where they had the lights out match. So awesome storytelling there, but I wouldn't have cared if it wasn't exactly a year.
Right.
I just, there was, to me, it was almost the same match that they had from a year ago, just with the confinements and added
no interruptions.
No interruptions. And they did a really good job when the ref went down and Aubrey came in and they opened the door. They made it like, oh man, someone's going to try and run in, even though we've got this cage, but they got that door shut. no one was able to interfere.
Blocked immediately.
Yeah. And that's the kind of stuff that I like. Like that attention to detail is the kind of thing that makes me get mad in other instances where there isn't attention to detail because it's such a small thing. They made a very big deal out of it. The door got locked and the match continued, but like it was at least acknowledged. And I completely respect how they went about doing that.
I was just saying, I know this is definitely a little off topic, but I was hoping that like Jamie Hayter or Rebel would have thrown something into the ring like Brandon Cutler did for the Young Bucks. Like if it was like a glove tax, like whatever.
That would have been cool.
Like I thought I was hoping like something like that would have happened because I loved that part where Brandon Cutler came in and threw the tacked shoes to Matt Jackson.
Yes, and for all of the interference, it was like you almost expected them to try something that wasn't going to work because of the cage, but it didn't matter either way to me that they didn't.
Right. No, it didn't. But I thought that was such a creative spot that the Young Bucks did. And obviously the Young Bucks are just that good too. And like, planning it, but it's just like, I love seeing when someone tries to throw something in to help and it doesn't, or does for a little bit.
Yeah, it was an awesome match. The two always work hard. I really want them to be able to have a match that's really good that doesn't involve a bunch of weapons because I think there's still people looking past the fact that their two best matches are the matches where, yes, I totally respect what they put themselves through to have those good matches, but like none of their regular singles matches or matches where they've been in tags, I would go as far as to say they haven't even been good, much less very good or great.
Definitely not pay-per-view worthy. That's all I have to say.
And I would like them to be able to have a match that doesn't involve thumbtacks and chairs and cages and interference and all this stuff, and them actually have like a good match, because there are a lot of people who are now ignoring all of the stuff that happened in between. But the reality is Britt Baker has had people interfere in her matches for a year. For 1 year, there have been people interfering in her matches. And you're telling me that we needed an additional storyline to justify a cage? The pay-per-view match should have been a cage match. It should have opened the show.
Yes.
Women's title cage match, because everybody that followed the cage match would have been able to follow the cage match, no problem.
Absolutely.
That's how good those matches were. And instead, it was they had a 23-minute match with interference and visual pinfalls. And then they're like, oh, well, guess we need a cage. Like, dude, everybody knew we needed a cage before that. And instead, it was just like this awkward end of the feud timing thing. So I enjoyed the match. I think it peaked 2 weeks late, and I'm really tired of people saying to me, oh, well, it's the storyline. Well, it's been the storyline for a year.
Right.
We needed to waste 25 minutes of people's time on a bad distraction DQ finish at a pay-per-view to warrant a cage match. The cage match was warranted from the beginning, and they could have just gone right to it.
Well, and they also made themselves look silly because Thunder Rosa just hopped to the front of the line and beat Layla Hirsch. Yeah. Where Layla Hirsch actually had to wrestle, like Chris Statlander, like wrestled to get to it. Yep. And like, so they made themselves look silly for 2 weeks.
Yeah. They bent over backwards trying to make it make sense when there was just no way it was going to make sense the way they wanted it to. The only way that it would have made perfect sense is if they had just done the cage match earlier, because Britt, she's always had people interfering for her. It wasn't new. It was not something that just happened to Thunder Rosa. And yet everybody acted like, oh, well, you're supposed to do that for the storyline. That's how you introduce the cage. Like, you could have introduced the cage so long ago. Right.
Or, if you wanted to do what they did, the next week should have been the cage match then too.
Sure.
Because Tony, who had been like, that's it. I'm tired of seeing it, the interferences. We're doing a cage match next week. Like, call it right then and there.
And then I question why it took Tony so long to get tired.
Right, yeah, but
so they got themselves into a position where it was only going to make so much sense because of the way that it had gone. And at the end of the day, I'm just happy that Thunder Rosa is finally the champion, because I don't know a more deserving women, or I don't know a more deserving member of the women's division to be the next champion. And so and she was very emotional and very happy. And so as someone who watched her at all these indie shows, like, I was very happy to watch that.
Yeah, it was a good moment for sure.
It was a very good moment, and hopefully we've got a good Thunder Rosa title reign coming up.
I hope so too.
Any other closing thoughts on Dynamite? What did you think of the St. Patrick's Day Slam? I loved it. I thought it was a great.
I thought it was very
overall.
good. So I enjoyed it. I mean, it was definitely worth the watch.
Yep. Minus the small little inconsistencies, it was absolutely worth the watch.
Absolutely. All right, so now we are on to the Rampage. I know it started a little late because it had the basketball, but I stayed up and watched it. So the first things first was we kicked it off with Darby versus the Butcher, which I thought was actually incredible, to be honest. Like, I thought it was one of the best matches. And the Butcher, from where he started to where he is now, wow.
This match was awesome. And
oh, yeah.
And I think the Butcher is so much more improved. And obviously everyone's talked about the physique. He looks amazing. But I also think, like, credit to Darby Allin, who does tons of stuff to kill himself and make these matches great. But also, I really do think that he knows how to make other people look awesome when wrestling him.
I do too. I mean, the way that he has wrestled so many different people in just a short span, and all of his matches are good.
All of them are good. All of them are different. There are a million ways that Darby Allin can win a match. I mean, he's rolled people up. He's submitted people. In this match, there was the count out. I mean, you never, even when you know he's going to win, you don't even necessarily know how. And I think that just adds so much more interest into what he does. But I mean, seriously, take nothing away from the Butcher. Butcher, he looked awesome in this match.
That he did.
And when you've got a guy like Darby to ragdoll, it's hard not to look good as a big guy. Darby,
oh, that too.
Darby is best at getting ragdolled.
Yes, and I thought they used obviously what they did in the pay-per-view, but I just thought it's still a unique and creative way for him to be ragdolled too, because you don't see too often where someone literally picks him up and just throws him into the barricades, like into the steps, like the way that they did it.
Yeah, it was pretty violent in some cases. There were two spots in this match where I was like, oh, Jesus, I really hope Darby is okay. And obviously the first was the classic Darby Allin high-speed tope.
Oh, yeah.
Dude looked like, I think the Butcher actually might have saved his life there, because Butcher like grabs him and tries to control him as he's crashing into him, but he could have very easily smashed his head into that guardrail. Yeah,
and he's got to worry about like kind of the bigger guys. Like, he does bounce off of them. Like Miro, like he literally, like Miro, like literally was like a fly to him. Like, he bounced off of him. So like some of the like bigger guys, like he bounces off, and like thank God the Butcher had his arms around him at like at a certain point, because like he would have bounced off and like landed straight on the guardrail.
Back there was, after they came back from commercial, there was the part where Butcher put him in the Texas cloverleaf.
Yes.
And as soon as it looked like Darby was like trying to flip out under him, so Butcher picks him up, power bombs him, and then walks back over him and puts him back in the cloverleaf. And like, I'm sure I've seen, like, the only thing I've seen, I think you see people put the guy in the triangle, and then the big guy slowly gets to his feet, lifting the guy in the triangle, and he power bombs his way out of the triangle. I don't know that I've ever seen a leg submission turned into a power.
No, I have not.
And I get it. Darby's a smaller guy, so you can do stuff like that, but I still never seen it before. It's still creative. I was impressed.
Yeah, and I also love the name, the Texas Cloverleaf. So
great move. A Texas Cloverleaf in Texas. Excellent. The other spot, real quick, the one spot that I was very worried was the tope, and then the other spot where I was very worried was where Butcher was swinging this dude around and around outside the ring, smashing him into the ring, or smashing him into the barricade. And then he comes back and he smashes Darby Allin into those steps. And that looked so bad. I felt so bad for him going into those.
There was one lariat on the outside. I think the Butcher did that one. That one got me. I'm like, oh my God.
And that's when we led to the finish of the match there. The Butcher goes to do a running, just smash Darby into the steps. And Darby moves, ends up stomping on his hand against the steps. ends up
put him in the code red.
Hit him a code red on the outside, and then coffin drop off of the top to the floor for the count out win. Unbelievable. I will say, Darby got up from a hell of a lot more than the Butcher got up from, so there was like a little bit of like, but I was cool with it. He took a bunch of he ran into the steps, seemingly knocked himself out, took a code red, took a coffin drop. It made sense to me enough. Well,
and also that they said they tore a bunch of ligaments in his hand too. That's why his hand was like all taped up like that. So like him getting his hand stomped on, like,
oh yeah,
like that definitely like helps, like, justify the win.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, no, this was an awesome match. I will admit, I underestimated how great it could be, and I was totally wrong.
And then after the match, you had Andrade and I guess the AFO. They all come in and attack Sting and Darby.
Yep, and the Hardy Boys, which I think that at this point, Tony just really likes hitting the Hardy Boys music because this was taped on Wednesday, so they would have hit the Hardys music like 3 times at this point, 2 times, whatever. But I get a kick out of them just playing the music. And
the music is incredible.
It's great music. It's classic.
I just hope that like every time Jeff Hardy comes in and starts dancing, like I don't care if like someone's getting their ass kicked like anymore.
Well, he
like,
didn't dance this time. He was.
I know. I kind of wish that he would have.
Me too. Me too. Oh, and then Jericho on commentary throughout this. I don't know if I just didn't like his commentary because of who his character was before, but now that he's sports entertainer Chris Jericho, his commentary just seems to make so much more sense to me. They actually teased getting in the ring to fight them now. Matt Hardy,
because he's attacking the pro wrestlers.
Yes. So Matt Hardy challenge. They run down, they make the save, and then they challenge Private Party and the Butcher and the Blade to a 4-on-4 tornado tag team match against the Hardys, Darby Allin, and Sting. Which, God bless Sting. I don't think Sting thought that every time he wrestled it would be in a hardcore match of some kind, but here we are. And Andrade comes out like he's going to fight him, and Jericho goes, "No, save it. Don't give him a free match. That's what sports entertainment is all about." And I love that.
There's one part of the commentary that I will get to at a later match when we talk about it that just we'll get to it.
Okay, all right.
But then after that match, we had the Scorpio Sky promo with Paige Van Zandt and Dan Lambert.
And would you be surprised if I told you that Scorpio Sky was the 3rd best part of this promo?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, that's what I thought.
Dan Lambert always takes it.
Dan Lambert speaks so well, and then Paige Van Zandt has such a presence about her. And Scorpio Sky, I think you said it, they need to get him in the ring with somebody who they can have a good match with, and they need to have just a good match. Like, it just, no interference, no bullshit. Let Scorpio Sky wrestle somebody, have an outstanding match, and I might be able to get a little bit more
behind it. Yeah. Can understand that.
Yeah.
I think it needs to happen. So after that, we had Red Velvet versus Layla Hirsch.
This was better than I thought it was, or than I thought it was going to be. And I think that's because they actually structured the match like people who hate each other. They didn't wait. They attacked each other right out of the gate. It was nice, hard hitting. I mean, it was nothing special, but it was better than I thought it was going to be. I'm just disappointed that Layla Hirsch didn't get the win in the end.
I was too. And so this is the part where Jericho's commentary, where I was just like, all right, enough's enough.
What did he say?
So he was like, "Hey, Ricky, you know what it says on Layla Hirsch's chest?" And Ricky goes, like, the question is like, legit? And he's like, yeah. And then they didn't say anything. And I'm like, what did I just listen to?
I remember that. That was hysterical. And Jericho was like so demoralized that Ricky got it right. It's like, dude, what the fuck did you expect him to say? It's literally right in front of his face. And Justin, or an Excalibur says it. Excalibur doesn't say Layla Hirsch without clarifying that she's legit Layla Hirsch. So I don't know what Jericho was expecting.
And it was just like a silence for like 5 seconds, like right after that. Cause like, I don't know if they knew what to do, but I was just like, Jericho, I need better from that. Like, come on.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Like I said, sometimes he just talks to talk, and I don't think he's got a direction before he starts.
I just loved how Ricky Starks was like legit. Like
Yeah. Also, I would just like to clarify that there are no good guys or baby faces in this feud anymore. Layla won,
right.
and I'm still Team Layla. I don't want anybody to think that I'm not. But I'm Team Layla. However, that doesn't change the fact that Layla did win by using a turnbuckle on the paper.
The turnbuckle, that's what it was, yes.
After Chris Statlander told her that that no one wanted her as a child and that she was unadoptable. And now Red Velvet uses a distraction finish to win. Please tell me that there is a good person in this feud, because I can't.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at it from just like a common sense point of view, like Chris Statlander got her comeuppance, well deserved. Like she deserved to be hit with the turnbuckle at that point.
Absolutely.
And I think Red Velvet siding with Chris Statlander. I mean, I think she also deserved to be hit with the turnbuckle too. Just she's encouraging the fair weather friends behavior.
Yep.
And that's unacceptable.
Completely unacceptable.
So I think she was rightfully so to go to the well one more time and get the turnbuckle.
Yeah, whatever. I'm still a little bit confused.
I am too, and I hope Layla Hirsch comes out of it because she's been absolutely screwed for this entire month.
Yep, she sure has.
But then after that, we threw to QT Marshall and Aaron Solo. And this was
out of left field.
The QT Marshall certificate of accomplishment.
Yeah, he wants to give Hook the first ever, the inaugural QT Marshall certificate of accomplishment. And Taz was like taken back by this. I don't think Taz knew how to respond.
I don't even know how to respond if I was Taz.
All I know is if Hook is involved, it's the first segment that Hook will be involved in. And I am very excited about that. I hope he suplexes 10 people. If ever there was a guy that needed to beat up a bunch of security guards for no reason, it's Hook.
Or throw QT Marshall one more time.
Well, he's obviously going to do that. I just need to see everybody suplexed.
Was it the handsome devil? What was it? The
cold-hearted handsome devil?
The cold-hearted handsome devil.
Yeah, Hook.
Send Hook. Then we had the House of Black versus Fuego del Sol and Bear Country.
This was exactly what it should have been. This was the most awesome trios showcase match I have ever seen.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's nice that like Bear Country like obviously accepts the role of this, but like when you can kind of have your way with these enormous duo, like it's always impressive no matter what. And like I think Bear Country like obviously is good.
Yeah, they have some improving to do.
Right, but like they also make Malachi Black look like even more of a monster. They make Brody King look like a monster. They made whatever his name is at the moment.
Buddy Matthews.
Buddy Matthews. I was gonna say Buddy Murphy, but that wasn't right.
Yeah.
Buddy Matthews. But like when they can just have their way with like just Bear Country, like always impressive.
Oh yeah. There were
just like Hook with go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you go.
I was just say like Hook like throwing around Bear Bronson. I think that's who he wrestled.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Like him just being able to like suplex him, you're just like, holy hell.
Yeah, I mean, they do their job very well to the point where I hope they do eventually get, a little better so that they can get their own little spotlight because they've done such a good job in this role that they've had.
Yeah, absolutely.
There were a couple of excellent spots in this match.
Yes. For how short it was, there was many excellent matches.
Fuego del Sol tries to do a tope, like flying forearm, like an AJ Styles flying forearm. And he's like leaning in towards Brody King. And Brody King, just one forearm, completely changes Fuego's direction midair, like just clocks this guy and sends him on his ass. Like he ran into a brick wall and the brick wall won.
Yeah, I don't know what his thought process was, but
no idea.
That wasn't it.
No, bad idea. I'm not sure what he was thinking. So that was one of my favorite spots. What was the other one? Oh, really, there was also the part where Fuego tries to get out of the way or whatever. He hits the ropes. He ducks Brody King's clothesline. And then after he hits the ropes on the return, Buddy Matthews just fucking destroys this guy. He goes for some other type of springboard move, and just Buddy Matthews just knees this dude right.
Oh, he did the like flying knee or whatever.
Yeah. And then as he hits him with the knee, Malachi Black hits a moonsault to the outside as Brody King hits a Darby Allin style tope, a high speed tope for the big man. And then Buddy Matthews hit, I don't know what he calls it now, but when he was wrestling in WWE, he was Buddy Murphy, and it was called Murphy's Law. So that's what he hit Fuego with and pinned him.
That one he hit that so hard and so fast. Like, yes, that move was incredible.
3 minutes.
I didn't even know what his finisher was.
Yeah, that's the finisher. Now you know.
Yeah, now I know. And then you had Penta and Alex Abrahantes cutting their promo backstage.
That they did.
That was all right. They're setting up for Rey Fenix to come back.
They are setting up for Rey Fenix to come back, and then we'll get the thing is like, I don't want Rey Fenix to come back and then lose in a trios match against all those guys. But I also don't want the House of Black to lose against those three guys, because they've been too involved with each other. So at this point, I think the only thing that comes out of the feud is whoever loses gets hurt. And I don't want to see either of those trios get hurt, because they're both great. So I'll be interested to see how exactly they do it. The thing is as great as the Death Triangle is, I think Rey Fenix and Penta will always be over, and Pac is an amazing wrestler. So it just feels like they're going to be the ones that end up taking the loss here, which would be a shame. But I feel like it's more important that the House of Black keeps winning than it is that the Death Triangle beats the House of Black, as it has just been formed.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if this is kind of your thought process, but Pac and Penta both have been sprayed in the eye with the black mist, and Rey Fenix hasn't. So I figure that's how they're going to lose.
Oh, great. He comes back from injury only to be blinded.
I mean, I don't know if that's like a good thought process, but that's just me. I'm like, House of Black is going to win this one because they lost on the pay-per-view, the buy-in, and Rey Fenix hasn't been misted.
You're right. I mean, I'm sure that's probably what it's going to be. I just hope we can move past this Black Mist thing. They don't need Black Mist people. They're not heels. Nobody boos them ever.
No.
And when they do the Black Mist, there's no booing. There's like the crowd pops.
Silence.
They're like, oh, like they're not getting booed. They don't like, they can be dark characters who are bad guys, but to do heel wrestling things, I don't think serves them well at all.
Yeah, so we'll have to see in the upcoming
excellent squash. We'll see where it goes.
Yes, absolutely. And then we had the main event with Keith Lee and Max Caster.
Max Caster with another brilliant rap. I love those every time.
They're always good and spot on. And Keith Lee and Max Caster had I thought a very good match.
I did too. I wish that Max Caster had gotten a little more offense, not in the picture-in-picture, because it seemed like most of what he got in was during the picture-in-picture. But I still thought this was really awesome. I mean, Keith Lee, Max Caster is just, again, I think Bowens is still a better wrestler, but like Max Caster, the facial expressions, just the way that he moves around the ring and interacts with his opponent, like, I just thought it was really, really great. And even though it was very simple, Keith Lee, for the most part, just fucking pounded this guy. Did the cool leapfrog. In the middle of the match, Powerhouse Hobbs came out to watch. And that was when we went to the break. Hobbs entered the chat and we went to break. And then that was when Caster took over, was during the break. Caster caught him coming in, hit him with a drop kick. But out of a chin lock is what Max Caster thought would put down Keith Lee. It was the Beal and then his Big Bang catastrophe that I thought was the power bomb. Yeah, that's what it was. And And he won. So it was a solid match. As long as the Acclaimed keep getting to be on TV and they eventually end up being big stars, like I'm fine. But I would be disappointed if they don't get their shine soon enough and end up going to work somewhere else, because I want the Acclaimed to be around forever.
They're so good.
They're so awesome. Everybody loves the Acclaimed, and now all of the arenas are starting to get on board with it.
Yeah, and I honestly think it's part of like the singles matches they've had, because Anthony Bones wrestled Moxley, Max Caster wrestled Wardlow.
They constantly get put against guys that you want to be wrestling if you're them.
Right. Then after the match, you had Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks go in and attack Keith Lee. And the Acclaimed joined in, and Swerve came out and made the save. Here's what I'll say about the chair thing. I need wrestlers to stop throwing chairs as hard as they throw chairs. I'm serious. One of the he threw that chair, and the chair was. If it doesn't hit a rope, that shit's going flying
into the crowd and hitting someone, because he threw it hard. It wasn't going to just land and plop on the outside of the ring. It was going to keep going, and it was horizontal. They're very lucky it hit a rope. One of these times that's not going to happen, and somebody's going to get hurt, and there's going to be a serious problem. Just go in there, hold on to the chair, hit the ropes, and then throw it downward. Make sure it's going down towards the actual wrestlers and let it flop around on the floor after. But this launching the chair thing, somebody's going to get hurt. So hopefully they got to knock that off. A lot of people have done it, and every time I get a little worried.
Yeah, no, that one was a scarier one, because if it doesn't hit that rope, it's going through.
I know fans like to be a part of the show, but I don't think they like to be a part of the show in that sense.
No, I don't think they want to get hit in the face with a chair.
Absolutely not. That was an awesome. I actually was very happy about this Rampage. And when I saw the card originally, I was like, I'm sure it'll be okay. I'm sure it'll be fine. But after watching it, I had my expectations exceeded. I thought that the matches, for what they were exactly what they needed to be. Got your funny backstage promos. You got Mark Henry said it was the main event. What else do you need in a Rampage show?
And it's like I said, I think it's still the most consistent show.
It is what it is, and it's that all the time. When it's a little bit better, it's better, but not through the roof better. When it's a little bit worse, it's not as good as normal, but it's not in the basement either. I mean, it's like you said, it's the most consistent show that they put on. Sometimes the Dynamite shows, it's they're not. Sometimes they feel like not even the same thing week to week, and then not that they're bad, but they just go in a different direction.
Right, and you just have Dynamite that will 1 week just absolutely blow it out of the water. Just have a phenomenal lineup and show. And then Rampage will be it kind of looks like a B show. And that's not what it's supposed to be. But if you're after a really good Dynamite, you feel it's kind of a B show. And then after kind of a not so good Dynamite, you're wow, Rampage was really good this week. Yeah. So it's it always has a balance. The water always finds its level. And Rampage is definitely the buffer that they need.
That's one of my favorite quotes ever. I don't even know who said it, but water always finds its level. That's some philosophical shit right there. I'm actually looking up the quote right now. That's so great.
You glad I brought it up?
I love that quote. I actually don't think anybody says it. I'm pretty sure, pardon my take, Big Cat just randomly said it, or maybe Hank one time, your least favorite guy.
Hank is the worst.
Water always finds its level. Who said it? Aristotle.
Aristotle. I was going to say, drop it in the comments.
No. Apparently it was said long before Aristotle, but Aristotle did say it. Lindia Grant said it in some book that she wrote. I don't know any of these people, so we're gonna attribute it to pardon my take. Congrats.
And Aristotle, R.I.P.
Yeah, R.I.P. Aristotle. In case you didn't know.
Spoiler.
Anyway, I was very thrilled with the show. I'm looking forward to another great week of wrestling. Hopefully the news is a little bit lighter. Hopefully Cody debuts somewhere so we can stop talking about this.
Yes, please.
Any closing remarks, Fish?
No, I think they got some good directions on where they're going. So I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Well, I'm Matt Gould.
I'm Ryan Fish.
And we will talk to you next time. Peace.
Yep.